You know that feeling, right? Your child's in an autism treatment program, and you're celebrating every little win, like a new word, maybe more eye contact, a small step towards independence. Each one feels huge. Then you get the therapy report, it shows all these skills mastered, but something feels a bit off. What's on the paper doesn't quite line up with what you're seeing day to day at home. Well, that disconnect, it isn't just confusing. It can actually be a flag for something serious, often overlooked in autism treatment, the falsifying of progress data. Now look, it's not always malicious, but it's a real problem. It can quietly hold back your child's development during these incredibly critical years.
That's a really crucial point you're making. So, what does falsifying data actually mean in practice? Put simply, it's when someone, maybe a therapist or a supervisor, records that your child has mastered a skill, but in reality, they haven't. Not really. They haven't achieved that independence or consistency. So maybe the report says your child can ask for a snack on their own, but at home, you find you still need to give quite a few verbal prompts, maybe even a little physical nudge to get that same response. That's the core of it right there.
Okay, so if this is happening, what does it look like, in the actual therapy session? Are there specific ways this shows up that parents might notice?
Yes, absolutely. Our sources point to a few main scenarios. First, there's something we could call the one and done illusion. This is where maybe the child did the skill correctly, but only once or twice, and boom, it's marked as mastered. But there's no consistent success, not across different places or times.
Okay, one or two times isn't mastery. Got it. What else?
Then there's the prompting problem. This one's common. The child performs the skill, yes, but only with significant help. Maybe a hand-over-hand physical guide or several verbal reminders. But on the report, it gets written down as independent.
So the help isn't accurately recorded.
Exactly. And then there's a really concerning one, sort of the didn't happen scenario. A skill gets marked as mastered, but maybe it wasn't really worked on much or perhaps even at all in that session.
Wow, okay, that's quite serious. Now, it's easy to just get angry about this, and maybe rightly so. But you mentioned the why can be complex. Can you shed some light on the pressures that might lead someone, even someone meaning well, to do this?
Yeah, it's important context, even if it doesn't excuse it.
Yeah.
The reasons do vary. Sometimes it's just really high-pressure work environments. Therapists might have quotas for progress they're supposed to hit, or they need to collect a certain amount of data. Other times the pressure could come from higher up, from administrators, maybe to make reports look consistently positive for insurance reimbursement or for funding or just for program statistics.
So the system itself can kind of incentivize cutting corners.
It can inadvertently do that, yes, even if people start with good intentions. But honestly, while understanding the why is sort of useful, it really doesn't change the impact. The why is far less important than the very real, potentially severe impact this has on the child's actual learning and development.
And that's the key, isn't it? Those systemic pressures are real, but the child's progress, their actual development, has to be the priority. How do we make sure that pressure doesn't compromise the data, the very data that's supposed to guide their growth? Okay, let's really unpack this for you. In this deep dive, we need to look at why accurate data is just fundamental, the bedrock. We'll explore the red flags you can look for, and crucially, how you can step up as your child's most effective advocate.
And it's fascinating because that honest, reliable data, it really is the foundation. Everything else in the therapy builds on it. If that foundation is weak or, well, inaccurate, the whole structure is shaky. Think about it. If a basic skill is marked mastered before your child truly has it down, the therapy plan moves on too soon.
Right, they start working on harder things.
Exactly. And the child misses out on really consolidating that foundational skill. They might struggle with the harder stuff because the building block wasn't solid. This obviously leads to a therapy plan that's misaligned with their actual needs. That causes frustration for the child, for the therapist, for the parent. And the big one, it really slows down progress significantly.
And I can only imagine the frustration for you, the parent. You're trying to help at home, right?
Yeah.
But you're working off a picture that isn't actually accurate. The trust, it just erodes. You can't make good decisions about supporting your child if you don't have the real story of their strengths and their challenges. You end up trying to reinforce things based on a false premise. It's confusing and it feels like wasted effort. So how do you protect your child? You really are their number one advocate here. Even if you're not sitting in on every single therapy session, there are definitely signs, red flags you can watch for.
So that raises the question, doesn't it? What are those red flags specifically?
Well, the biggest one is often just that gut feeling, that persistent mismatch between the report and what you see at home. If the report says your child does X consistently, independently, but you rarely, if ever, see it happen like that. That's your cue to dig deeper.
Okay, so trust your instincts if things don't add up.
Absolutely. Another thing is sudden, really dramatic progress jumps on paper, especially if you don't see a corresponding leap in their skills in real life. Progress, especially in autism treatment, is usually pretty gradual, incremental steps. So if a report suddenly shows like a dozen new skills mastered in a really short time, and you're not seeing that change at home or school, it's definitely worth asking some questions.
That makes sense. Real learning usually takes time. What about the reports themselves? Anything to look out for there? Yeah, be a little cautious about reports that seem suspiciously perfect. You know, life has ups and downs. Learning does too. If a report only shows success, 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 no mention of challenges, difficult days, skills they're still struggling with, it might be, well, glossing over the real picture. Too rosy.
Okay, so if you see these flags, or even if you just want to be proactive, what can you actually do? The good news is you do have power here. You can take steps. For instance, you can ask for the raw data. Don't just accept the summary report. Ask to see the trial-by-trial notes. That means the actual record of each attempt at a skill during the session, not just an average score.
Right. Or sometimes you could even ask if they have short video clips of the skill being performed during sessions. That gives you a really clear, unfiltered view of what's happening.
And what about observing sessions? Is that usually an option?
You should absolutely ask. See if you can sit in on a session sometimes. It gives you such valuable firsthand insight into how the therapy works and how your child is responding in that setting.
Okay, observe. What else?
And this is a big one. Test the skills yourself. At home. If the report says your child has mastered, say, putting on their own coat, try it out during your normal routine. See if they can do it consistently in a real-world situation. That's the true test of mastery and generalization.
Right, does it work outside the therapy room?
Exactly. And finally, maybe consider keeping your own notes. It might sound like extra work, but just jotting down progress you see at home, even in a simple notebook, it gives you something concrete to compare against the official reports. A baseline.
All these steps, really, if you connect them to the bigger picture, it seems to boil down to transparency, doesn't it? Effective autism treatment shouldn't feel like some secret process happening behind closed doors. It really needs to be a partnership between you, the parents, and the therapy team.
Absolutely. Partnership is key.
When you can see how things are done, how progress is tracked, how challenges are handled, trust builds, and more importantly, your child gets the huge benefit of having everyone on the same page, a united, informed team working together.
That's precisely it. At its very core, effective treatment absolutely depends on that transparent, honest tracking of progress. When that foundation gets shaky, when the data isn't reliable, it can cause missed learning opportunities, big ones. It leads to therapy plans that don't fit, frustration all around, and it really can slow down a child's development when time is so precious. Your active involvement, your vigilance, it's just critical to make sure your child gets the best possible care.
Exactly. So if we were to distill it right down, your power comes from taking action, asking for that raw data, observing sessions when you can, testing those mastered skills at home, keeping your own notes for comparison. These aren't confrontational things. They empower you with the real information.
And that commitment to open communication, to sharing information, that's what builds a truly strong partnership. It's all about making sure every decision, every step in the therapy is genuinely benefiting the child. And that has to be built on trust and, crucially, on progress you can actually see and verify.
So thinking about all this, what does it really mean for you listening right now? If we accept that your child's autism treatment must be built on a foundation of honesty, transparency, and true partnership, what does that empower you to do next? Or maybe, what questions does it make you ask about what you should expect and even demand from a treatment program?